All right, The Terror by Dan Simmons. Why do I think it's the best book that I ever read? This has a couple of reasons I want to shortly elaborate about. So it is an historical account supplemented by the great fiction of Dan Simmons, who created the horror masterpiece Carrie and Comfort, or the science fiction masterpiece four-book series Hyperion and Endymion. And we see all his brilliance, his brilliant writing in The Terror. So, to the history, the book focuses on the 1845 to 1848 history of the Royal British Navy trying to find the Northwest Passage, this shipway from the Atlantic to the Pacific Ocean, basically on top of the world, north of Canada, in this very hostile, life-threatening environment. And this is the second thing. When you think about the Arctic, sounds like a very barren land, very empty. And well, it certainly adds to the isolation, but Dan Simmons, he has a way to describe the polar region in all its different facets, and I mean, he writes about the different kinds of ice that trap the two ships, Erebus and Terror, and the glaciers, the peninsulas, the bays, the rescue camps. It's certainly an empty environment, but he fills it with meaning, and I felt very entrenched in this book and story. It was so well described. The prose is so good. You felt like you were right in the book. And that's also because there's really lots and lots of great characters. He looked at the history books, and I guess he did thorough research on the members of this expedition. And well, he gives them his own fictional spin. The character there's certainly very good characters. Just to name, obviously, Crozier, the main character, but there's also great supporting characters like John Irving, the young British Navy soldier, or the surgeon, Dr. Goodsir, who has a rational medicine approach to things, and he also gives his ideas about the food situation, because the expedition bought well soiled tinned food. It was a brand new invention at the time, but they weren't well cooked, and they gone bad. Over the course of the years, because this story in the first half of the book, it's told by chapters in the past and in the future, and then towards the end of the book, it's just the story followed to the point in present, so to say. Another thing why I love this book is just in the feeling, the characters. I have the idea that the book gave me the impression that it covers the whole span, the whole width of human emotion. the despair, the brutality. It's the whole spectrum. You laugh with the characters and you cry with the characters. It's so well done. It just feels very human, very human. There's there's humanity, believable humanity in Simmons' writing. There's no black or white characters here, certainly not. There's a bunch of pretty bad ones, certainly. And yeah, that's also, yeah, it's a very dark book. It's very, very bleak and brutal. Um, I won't spoil too much here, but as a last resort, survivors converse to cannibalism. You know, what would you do? Die or eat a corpse? Oh man, this, for everyone in a normal life, this question doesn't pose itself, but for these guys, after years and years trapped in the middle. All right, gotta hurry. There's still a few more things I want to briefly talk about. I think, honestly, this book, it's so good. It should be named right in line with the Alien 1979 movie and the Sing movie by John Carpenter from 1982. Why do I think that Dan Simmons' The Terror has something in common with these two, cult classic horror movies? Well, in all three movies, we have the theme of isolation. We have an alien, the spaceship, somewhere in the middle of space that finds itself with an unknown passenger, let's say, the scary monster, slowly killing everyone in the crew except for Ellen Ripley, of course, and Jonesy, the cat. We also have the theme of hostile environment, certainly space. In space, obviously no hydrogen, you can't survive there. And we have the monster, of course, the alien. In the Thing, we have a very similar setting because this also plays in the Arctic at a research outpost, and there a shapeshifter enters the research base, and it slowly kills everyone, but they don't know who really is who. Is it a human? Is it the monster? This is a additional twist in John Carpenter's The Thing, but it's the same. It's the same hostile to life environment with the Arctic, and yeah, and the shape-shifting monster, of course. The Terror, it is right in line here. We have isolation. We have the life-threatening environment. We have a genius monster, and this monster, I find it right on par with, the legendary Alien, which to me is the scariest monster of all time. I have nightmares since childhood, honestly. Now here, this monster, um, it is explained in the later parts of the book. We get an approximation what it could be. What I found great is that we have the native mythology here. I guess Dan Simmons, he really studied the Native American mythology, the Inuit, Eskimo mythology, and he developed the monster from there and brought it to life. And this is a powerhouse of a monster. Uh, don't think Alien or The Thing. Probably better think Alien Queen, because it's huge and it's unbelievably powerful and strong, and it is very mean and very brutal. It has a joy in killing and torturing those poor stranded sailors. Yeah, Jeff Vandermeer, he once wrote this, I think in 2007 also, just same year as The Terror released. This short story, you can find it over at Clark's World. It's called The Third Bear. The Third Bear by Jeff Vandermeer. I read it a couple of years ago. It stuck in my mind. Jeff Vandermeer, also another very cool author, and he wrote a short story about a supposed bear in a kind of medieval setting, and it slowly kills the town folk of some little village, and they sent out their champions into the woods and trying to get rid of this supposed bear, but it's not a bear. And just like the June bug, this is the Inuit name of the monster that Dan Simmons envisioned. It was also summoned by a witch, which is very cool. Also, the whole last few chapters of The Terror with the twist, I found it very cool how Dan Simmons shows us kind of the other perspective, the perspective of the native people. And honestly, the British thought of them as savages and heathens, but honestly, they have a deep religion and beliefs, and they are much better adapted to this Arctic climate, and they can survive much easier than two ships full of hundreds of Englishmen could. Yeah. Yeah, this is a very brutal and dark book. It really deserves the horror classification. It is horror. I found it fascinating. I found it very grim. It just full of suspense, and it's so well narrated. Speaking of narration, I listened to the audiobook, book track edition with some slight background, atmospheric music, sound effects. It was narrated by Tom Selwood. I have no idea who Tom Selwood is, and as far as I could research, he only narrated The Terror in English and no other audiobooks. But yeah, right there with Stephen Pacey from the First Law series, or John Lee, who is my gold standard for audiobook narration. He did a fantastic job, outstanding, honestly. Yeah, I mean, this all that I talked about in the past quarter hour. Oh my God. This is the reason why, all in all, this might be my favorite book of all time. I read a lot of science fiction book, a lot of fantasy books. I read The Lord of the Rings multiple times. It's a book I really like to return to. I read lots of Stephen King, and honestly, now this is the third time I finished this in 3 years, and it's still good. I'm very sure a third and fourth go through would be still as amazing. I can return to this book anytime. It just grips me tightly, and I mean, it's just fun and it's scary. It has the whole magnitude of human emotion, and yeah, that's why I love it so much. And so give it a try. That's all. Gonna finish it here. Talked long enough. If you made it to the end, thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Have a great day. Bye bye.